Hi guys, and welcome to DevOps Stage 2021. I hope you are in good mood and in good health. Today we'll speak about DevOps and the skills that are required for good engineers in 2021. About me, I'm Volodymyr Tsap, and I'm working with Linux and different open source tools for the last 17 years, and I have a pretty large experience on that field, and for the last 12 years I'm CTO of the shop. It's a small but proud company which build and deliver different kind of platforms and infrastructures based on open source tooling. We build different tools, using tools for modern infrastructures, cloud native tooling, all kind of CI/CD systems, orchestration systems, different clouds, vendors, and so on. So I'd like to share some experience at what my opinionated thing, mindset about what should know the good engineer for 2021 in the DevOps field. And so I think we can start. I have prepared three levels of my understanding what is sufficient to know on each stage, because we have this grading system in our industry, like junior, medium, senior engineer, but it's not something I'd like to name, so I'll set some basic skills, moderate skills, and high skills. And high skills professional is like the guy who can do every level down. So that means that high skill engineer could perform tasks from basic and moderate skill set. The skill set I have prepared, it's related from our own experience, because any company could get own skill set that are required for them. For us, we think that each engineer should be not T-shaped, that learn one tool and know it's very good, but we think that the modern cool guy should understand whole concepts, at least on abstraction level, that brings him to wide knowledge, and with that wide knowledge he can achieve a better result than by focusing on particular task, at least at the first stages. Then definitely, if you understand the whole things around, you can dig into something special and become real professional. So this is very opinionated, and don't be mad about something, it's just my opinion. And if you have comments, you can ask me after my talk. I think we can discuss that a lot, and we have to discuss that a lot. So I'll share my screen with the skill sets that I have prepared. Most of that questions from interviews, based on something I get from last 20 or 40 interviews, and I grade this in my own opinionated system. And at the first glance, I think if we are talking about modding infrastructures, about modding DevOps, it definitely requires some programming skills. So you should understand how to automate something, and for this automation you should learn something where you can literally write your programs to automate that. And let's start from the basic knowledge that you need to have in that programming. At first, I think you definitely, it doesn't matter from your level, you need to know at least some basic commands, how to push, merge, understand how to work together, and so on, because Each tool, at least from open source, are now in Git, and you need to understand why it is there and how to work with that code. And this is like basic programming skills that you need. Besides that, definitely we work with different operation systems, but the most common use case is the Linux. And if you are a DevOps guy, you definitely need to understand how to work with Linux. So you need to have some skills for like bash scripting. You need to understand how to work with like commands like sed, ls, and so on. You need to understand how to pack your programs and split it into functions, understand how to work with exit codes, understand how to perform the code that produce the same result after each launch. I'm talking about some idempotence. And yes, this is pretty basic level that is required for DevOps. And if we then going after that, if you like pretending to be maybe middle DevOps engineer or something like that, your bash scripting skills should be a bit advanced. And yeah, there's a good book for advanced bash scripting. I suggest it's strongly suggested. And beside that, definitely it will be good if you understand how to write real programs on Python, maybe Go, maybe Node.js. That's three languages that actually is more related to DevOps domain than others, because we have tools that utilize that, or a lot of tools are like practically are written on these programming languages. And you need to understand how to work, how to code as when you are a team. So team programming is about how you resolve conflicts, how you merge, how you test your software, how you launch and versionate it. And yeah, that's pretty enough to be at the moderate level of programming skills in DevOps domain. And next is the high-level engineers that I think would fit on this DevOps world. And yeah, I think the best options here is when you have the commercial experience on writing real products, like commercial experience with Java or .NET, maybe Node.js, and working on real production projects. You build real software, you deliver that, you fix the bugs, you manage this feature process, feature management, and you understand the pitfalls and problems during the software delivery. Because when we talk about DevOps, you work with the guys who actually create the software, and it is good to understand what are the problems there and how to help that developers to be more effective, and how to help them with their work. So this pretty everything what I think you need to know about programming in DevOps domain. The modding, there is another part. It's about that modding infrastructure as a code languages are drifting into the field where you describe infrastructure by real programming language. And definitely for high-end engineers, it would be good to know about how to script your infrastructure using the real programming languages, but we'll speak about this a bit later when we discuss the infrastructure as code tooling that you need to understand and know to be a good and effective DevOps. So let's move next to the next stage, and the next stage is the operating system and server administration skills. So it's not a secret that a lot of DevOps guys coming from Linux, from system administrators, and they understand how to work with these modern operating systems, so like Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, Red Hat, and definitely they should be effective in terminal to use like screen, MOOCs, Vim, tops, a lot of tops, ATOP, HATOP, whatever top, and understand how to check and be effective there, maybe create some aliases for that, to be effective on speeding up the work what you have performed in your terminal. And yeah, let's grade that into some 3-level grades as I started. So the basic things is that you definitely need to try at least to install the operating system to understand what the pitfalls, what are the problems there. And you, like on basic level, need to understand how to work with software there, how to package application, how to delete, uninstall, or like upgrade something there. And at least you need to know how to work with the file permissions, what is that, how to delete file, and what is the users, how they set passwords, what permission do they have. So this is like basic level, and believe me, a lot of guys who are like understanding how to write YAML, they don't even get how to work with the file permission operation system, and yeah, it's like happening. So yeah, I think you should know about that. And when you work like DevOps guy and you understand how the operating system really works, I suppose you can read like the book of operating system from Tannenbaum, or like different kind of computer science books, so you are able to understand how the process and memory works, how the kernel manage these things, how you can get what is happening, for example, when your memory is out, and what's happening next and how to deal with that. And you'll definitely need to know what is zombie processes and something like that, and how the virtualization works, what is the startup sequences when operating system is booting, because sometimes it doesn't, and you need to work out that. And you need to be cool at networking. At least you need to understand how to add routes, how to check the socket status and what's happening there. You need to be able to recover your operating system from degradation, and understand how to check what's happening with the performance, with the load, and how to work with that. And that's pretty enough, I think. Definitely we can ask some deep question on that, on your understanding how the operating system works. But when you're like high-skilled guys, you definitely need to understand how to tune this operating system to be effective, to work to get the all performance that it could provide. You need to understand how to tune kernel, how to compile modules, how to patch these modules. Sometimes you need to get some fancy driver from somewhere, or like binaries, or write down, change something into the operating system itself. And definitely, if you're high-level specialist, you need to understand how to secure your operating system. So what does it mean secure? Is that complete hard ending, how to work with like this AppArmor, Linux, and other policies, how to work with some IPS, IDS system that prevents from hackers. And yeah, performance is the king. Now you need to if you're like a very experienced engineer, you understand how to gain the last drops of performance from each setup. And since that's pretty it regarding operating systems, and we can go next. It's the databases and queues. Look, it's like the third step, and I don't talk about Kubernetes and Terraform and something like that, because yeah, we need to understand some basics, and then we can go on top of each abstraction, because like modern technologies are abstraction on top of the abstractions. And we have like theoretical knowledge and we get some practical knowledge. And in case of our country, I think the most of the guys trying to achieve some hard skills based on technology, so I adapt this my talk to be like more technology relational database, because that's pretty each project contains. So each I don't know blog or banking or anything could have and I don't remember any projects that actually don't have any database except some small ones. And as you are a basic user, you need to understand like how to work with SQL, how to work with at least MySQL and Postgres, and write some queries to deploy, select from, maybe understand some limitation on this SQLs, and work with administrating of these instances of databases, with deployment, management, upgrades. This is like basic level. If you like in the medium level of understanding of databases, you definitely need to know at least 2 or 3 databases, how to administrate them. You need to understand replications, asynchronous, synchronous replications, how to backup these databases, how to profile your databases by querying, like checking the slow queries, how to enable the slow queries, how to ping your developers. So guy, look, you have the problem with that index and it kills my database. You need to do something with that. You need to understand how to build monitoring for this database, maybe multiple database, maybe cluster of databases. Definitely you need to understand what and how to monitor. And yeah, sometimes you need to deal with data recovery. Definitely when you crash your database, you need to do something with that, and it would be cool if you understand how to work with that. And the next level, if you like database expert, you need to know beside the common databases, I think it would be good if you understand how to work with some commercial databases like Oracle or MySQL. MS SQL, because sometimes it's a part of solution. Even if we are in love with open source and free tooling, sometimes we need to deal with some large enterprises, and they definitely, at least now, use this commercial tooling. Some of them even migrating like from Oracle to Postgres, and it will be good to understand how these databases are working and how to tune the performance of those databases, how to check the pitfalls, how to select the proper engine for each database, for each type of the data, how to perform some scaling, and how to even optimize the queries. Not only just check what is slow, but understand how to get rid of the slowness, how to perform the query optimization, and definitely need to be ready to perform the schema upgrades, because relational databases are tricky in case of schema, and you need to understand how to versionate the schemas, how to deal with propagation of those changes between environments, and in case of microservice architecture, you need to understand how you can test that changes even on schemas and perform smooth upgrades and rollbacks in case you need that. I think that's pretty understandable about databases. So, but besides relational databases, we have some NoSQL, not only SQL. I just read this abbreviation like that, not only SQL databases. And the main thing here, I think at basic level, you should understand what is Mongo Redis, how to deploy, manage them, to query them, some updates, some inserts, deletes, and be effective on that. For medium level, you need to work out with some more complex database solution like Mongo, Elasticsearch, to work with clustering and replication. You need to understand how they store their data, how they replicate their data, what potentially could go wrong, how to perform the good capacity planning, because most of that solution use some sharding, some spare space. You need to be careful with that to not to get the more effectiveness from your money. And if you are a real expert, you definitely need to be the same as in relational database. You need to understand how to work with the performance of the database solutions, how to query and optimize the performance of some requests, or perform some operation that would be efficient for developers to speed up their response times, for example. Yeah, and let's jump into the queues. The queues is like new black. So we have plenty of that. At the basic level, I think the Rabbit is the good choice to learn how it works, how to manage with that, how to send some messages and receive them. And yeah, then if you like to get some level up, you definitely need to jump into Kafka, because Kafka is the new black for now. Yeah, definitely everybody tries to use it, and because we have a merge of microservice architectures that need to communicate between these microservices. We need to implement some patterns like back pressure, or interacting through the service bus. And in that field, a lot of companies adopted Kafka. Beside the Kafka, I think if you are in next level of the experience in the DevOps domain, you definitely need to work something with another queues, maybe like EBS, maybe some ActiveMQ or another one, and understand maybe nuts, understand the drawbacks and wins when you get one or another. You need to understand how to build some replications for these queues, fault tolerant, how to maybe backup something from there, perform some capacity planning. You need to understand the service bus concept, how and why it's now so popular, and work with microservice architecture design, because the queues are mostly used there. That's it from database and queues. You can check this list after my speech, and I think that's pretty enough when you really fit that requirements. So now let's get to the hot things, because the next topic was one of the most required now on the market, is how we work with containers and orchestrations. Actually, it's deals a lot with some other concepts like CI/CD. I'd like not to mention directly these ones, because it's for 2021. I think most of the CI/CD things are addressed, and the developers itself get the good experience working with that tooling. I think developers now could easily to use Jenkins or GitLab, so I exclude this CI/CD stuff completely from my topics. But yeah, definitely a good engineer should understand how to work with that. And now we move to container and orchestration, because definitely if you are DevOps, you definitely work with containers for now, maybe not 100%, but 80% definitely. And for the basic level, you need to understand how to work with Docker, maybe Docker Swarm, Docker Compose, maybe understand how to work with some more basic orchestrators like ECS or Nomad. and at least you need to understand how the Kubernetes works and why it works and how to work at least with workloads. If you're not dealing with control plane itself, if you're not like installing Kubernetes by your host or like production grade Kubernetes, you need to understand how to work with maybe within namespace with some workloads, and these primitives like daemon sets or deployments, replica sets, ingress, you need to at least understand what is that, because the Kubernetes is now a king and we need to treat him like with all respect. And for medium level, if you like on the median, I think you should be at least on CKA, Kubernetes certified Kubernetes administrator courses by exams by CNCF, and on that level, that means that is like entering level for Kubernetes administrator, that it includes the skill set that you need to work with Kubernetes, to understand how to work with control plane, what is that, how to deal with some YAMLs, how to bootstrap and manage a cluster, how to check control plane, how to monitor something on that, and work with managed solutions at least. I mean, like EKS, GKE, AKS. So that's pretty good point, because on each of that level you deal maybe with Kubernetes and clouds. You need to address the security issues. For example, if you are inside some cloud and you run on managed Kubernetes, you need to understand how to limit the particular workload to access particular cloud resource like bucket or database, and not allowing another things to access to those bucket or like database. And that's about security, profiling of that access and permissions. You definitely need to understand how to work with RBAC and other things. So all that concept that coming from this CK, I think would be enough to work on some moderate level. Definitely need to understand how all the components like scheduling mechanisms or API server works, and how to deal with them. And if you like good and high level experienced DevOps guys, you need to work with something with different multiple vendors of Kubernetes, multiple things like maybe OpenShift, Rancher. You need to understand at least how to work with bare metal clusters, because there are some problems that are addressed in cloud. You need to understand how to deal with storage. You need to understand how to get the load balancing working. You definitely need to understand how the CNI works, how to choose the correct CNI for your requirements, how to address issues like when you need some egress gateways for the traffic. You need to be sure how to select proper add-ons and tooling, how to select between traffic or engines ingress, and understand why is that solution that you pick up is good for this particular case. You need to understand the performance of that solution and the security hardening. So yeah, that basic Kubernetes is not so secure by default in many things, so you definitely need to integrate some policies, some external secrets management, and when you're working like a large team on multiple clusters, you definitely need to follow this modern GitOps pattern and understand how to work with that, with maybe Argo CD or Flux toolkit, and that how this should be done through the Git, and how to establish the ability for the team to work with multiple clusters from one point. And like that is something that would be good to have for engineer in 2021. on some mid plus level. Yeah, I'm not saying about some god mode when you're like active Kubernetes contributor or when you like working on Kubernetes distro. Yeah, there's some few more levels on top of that, but I'm telling in like reality when you're like regular engineer and you work with this tooling in your company. And the last but not the least thing from hard skill set is the infrastructure as a code. Infrastructure for now, most of the world are trying to adopt or already adopted the clouds in some manner, and it's the question how you work with that. If you're clicking something in that cloud, I think it's a bit outdated. And if you like working with some tools like Chef or Puppet, these tools are from the past, and you need to learn something how to work more efficiently with the clouds itself. It doesn't matter what the cloud is. I think modern Ukrainian like market shares 80% of the engineers from AWS and 15 maybe from Azure. I mean this global market, not enterprise one, and the rest for the Google Cloud from my opinionated view. But I understand there are a lot of like movement on DigitalOcean. We see this Hetzner Cloud now emerging, and we have a lot of tools there. But like I'm getting something mainstream, and what you need to know to work with this top three tiers of top three cloud providers, and definitely need to know some local things that they provide to perform this infrastructure as a tool, infrastructure as a code pattern. I just mentioned CloudFormation, but I think the best way to deal with that is to use Terraform, maybe something else, but that is a bit universal across all the clouds, because for now we have some setups when we have multiple clouds for one project, and it's very easy if you use the one tool across different clouds. Then when you need to get into this particular one for cloud, and if you are on basic level, you at least need to understand how to work with one of that tools. I think when you start from being like Linux administrator, you already know Ansible. It's also a good skill when you work on-prem with things where you need to deploy your basic infrastructure to like prepare operating system, Docker image or something else. Ansible is a good candidate. But when you're working with the cloud, I think the Terraform now is the king. And maybe you have some own scripts, maybe some self-made, bespoke shell framework that describe infrastructure by scripts. I personally done one before, but yeah, it's not actual for now. And if you work like in medium level, you definitely need to understand how to create own Terraform modules, how to implement some complex pattern, how to work with automation on top of these infrastructures that you will create with Terraform on other programming languages, how to work with a team, how to deal with the organizing your infrastructure as a code repository, how to segment your application from data from infrastructure for that. Maybe you need to get some knowledge from additional tooling like Atlantis, Terraground, and yeah, that's something that means that you're already working with the team and you share experience, and that is good to have for that skill set. And if you like try to achieve new level on that, I think you should be able to write down your infrastructure at least using some fancy new tooling. Maybe they would like be effective on that, maybe not, but at least understand what is that, how to work with Pulumi or Crossplane, something that outside the Terraform space. And I think the good level engineer should understand how to test their infrastructures and how to propagate changes between the stages, how to propagate changes from staging to production in infrastructure part, not into the microservice we deploy to staging and then push to the production. No, I mean the changes in infrastructure that you can have some basic reference infrastructure, you test something and you approve that, and then you propagate the changes across that infrastructure. It should be done strictly from the Git, and maybe use some CI/CD tool for that, maybe GitOps approach, which is preferable. And yeah, you need to understand how to secure your infrastructure. The security hardening is very good skill to have because it's very rare, and a lot of guys don't understand how to properly test for the security issue in their infrastructures, and that is something good and nice to have when you are like high-level engineer. And it will be good if you spread your knowledge across the community. Maybe you get some contribution to public modules for infrastructure as a code. Maybe you work with some creating some providers or modules or plugins for Terraform or other tools. Maybe you can contribute on some other fields, and it will be also great and nice to have the high-level engineers. And I think that's pretty it. So we covered the most important topic for the DevOps domain. It's just my opinionated way, and I think you can agree or not. And yeah, there was hard skills and what I think it will be good to have from soft skills. It's very short at least, but it's very painful. I think you definitely need to know how to learn how to speak English and discuss and good communication skills. Maybe not proper one, not the literal one, but you need to at least talk the way other party would understand you and explain your opinion and explain your position. Definitely you need to be a team guy, because DevOps is on between development, operations, project management, testing and other teams, so you will interact a lot with different people, and you need to be polite, you need to be open-minded, you need to be able to manage different situation, maybe bad ones, so you need to understand how to resolve them quickly and how to be effective. And the most likable thing, I think, for personal special for me, is that you're able to provide good estimates on the tasks. So the level so if you are a good engineer, the best you can is to provide the correct estimate for the task that you get from somewhere. Yeah? And if you're good in estimates and you always match that expectation, it's very good skill, and you can try to enhance it by checking and grooming the task, and check if you really understand what is happening there, what you need to do, how to achieve that. And yeah, that's something good to know. I don't touch such things like monitoring, maybe CI/CD in this speech, but I think these areas are more should be dedicated and split by different responsibilities. But for regular DevOps guy, it's the basic things graded by level that they need to achieve. And that's pretty it. I think if you have questions, or maybe you are not agreed with my point, so please ping me anytime. I will be glad to hear your responses. Thank you very much and have a great conference. Bye bye, guys.